When it comes to career management, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to identify a mentor who demonstrates the key experience, aptitude, and success that you aspire to. Someone who has traveled the journey, experienced the challenges, and has overcome the difficulties. One who knows what it takes to be successful. You don't need to limit yourself to one mentor. You may identify certain qualities and experiences that different potential mentors possess. One may be a great communicator and negotiator. Another may be a subject matter expert in your area of interest. Another may be a successful entrepreneur, and another may demonstrate highly effective leadership skills. Each mentor will have something to offer you. I discussed this on Radio 2UE, Talking Lifestyle Second Career, with Matthew Tukaki and David Pryor. Listen to two of the interviews where we discuss the difference between mentoring and coaching and how both can help to fast-track your career.
Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast that takes your career to the next level. Here's your host, Jane Jackson, author of Amazon Careers bestseller, Navigating Career Crossroads.
When you're embarking on a second career, often it's really hard to determine who to take advice from. Now, of course, I'd love you all to take my advice, but don't just listen to what I've got to say. Also have a listen to one of the gurus when it comes to career coaching and mentoring, Jane Jackson. Jane, welcome to Talking Lifestyle Second Career.
Hi, Matt. It's lovely to speak to you again.
So let's first talk about the value of getting a coach. I mean, a lot of people, particularly those who are 50 up, it's a big challenge moving from one job to another job, and it might be because of redundancy or retrenchment or what have you. What is the best bit of advice you could offer when it comes to selecting a career coach?
Well, first of all, if you're going through a redundancy or you're going through a change, after the age of 50, sometimes people feel quite confused, or maybe are lacking in a bit of confidence because they're worried if there's going to be ageism in the workplace. So it's really good to have someone who's a practical guide who can actually coach you through the process. And the benefit is that they have real-world experience with regard to the transition process. You can guide them through creating a powerful resume, how to network, how to interview most effectively, and most importantly, how to get over that age question.
Well, yeah, it's a big thing too, because you mentioned something before which resonates with me, and quite often you see people plying their wares as life coaches, and yet you look at them, they're 20 years old, they haven't really had a real job, and they're trying to tell somebody who's 50 looking for a new job or in a second career how to get it. I mean, there is a big difference between hiring somebody with experience and somebody who's just read a self-help book.
Yeah, that's right. You really need someone who's got life experience, has had the hard knocks, and has probably reinvented themselves a number of times in their career too. So anyone who's gone through the process a number of times and has realized actually they've done a number of career transitions themselves and they know how to reinvent themselves, that would be really helpful. So, whether you get a coach or you get a mentor, someone who has been there and done that would be really helpful. And especially those who've gone through, the corporate life and they've wondered, exactly how can I progress moving forward? And if they're thinking about making a big change and they don't want to continue on the same path that they've been before, because sometimes, you reach your middle age or 50s or even 60s. There are clients that I've coached who are in their 60s who have reinvented themselves and have been looking for a different type of role. You need to have someone who's worked in the different industries that you might be targeting, because they can guide you with regard to the specific requirements as well. And also, I would say the most important thing when getting a coach is someone who's really going to encourage you to stay up to speed with technology and the latest methodologies, and a coach who actually is up to speed in those areas themselves too. So if you're going to be choosing a coach, find one that you can find obviously easily online. Make sure they're Googleable. Have a look at
Googleable.
What they're Googleable. Okay, yes. As long as the coach is Googleable, you know that they're leveraging technology to their benefit. And if they can market themselves well, then they know that they'll be able to guide you through how to market you as well.
And that's really, really important. And so, look, just for our listeners, some of the tips from me, if you're an older worker, particularly moving into a new role, or you're scared about what's going to happen as a result of redundancy or retrenchment, here's a couple of quick things. Number one, make a list of all the things you can do that count as work experience. A lot of us have done things in our roles, in our jobs, in our careers that have meaning possibly in our second career. It's just we may not have done it for 5 and 10. And what's interesting about that, Jane, is sometimes with skills and experience, it is like riding a bike for the first or second time, right?
Actually, Matt, if any of the people who are making a career change have been doing something outside of work as well, because in voluntary basis, whether you're a member of a committee or you've been coaching maybe even teenage children in their sports, if it demonstrates a leadership skill or a communication skill, or perhaps you've been a social convener of a specific committee, you would have learned different skill sets as well. And even though they weren't paid roles, they'll be very good for transferable skills.
That's right. It's kind of like also when you're been a stay-at-home mum for a long time and you're moving back into the workforce, a lot of the things that you've done at home, like managing the household budget. You know, if you can manage a household budget, let me tell you, you can manage a small business's budget. And even down to having brought up the kids, negotiation and diplomacy when bringing up kids is a great skill also moving back into the workplace.
And patience too.
Yeah, there's something I don't necessarily always have. Yeah. Hey, number two from me, think about what you really want to do and put that down as your prime focus. It's kind of like passion and purpose. Number three, and I think you'll enjoy this, Jane, networking is power. I mean, a lot of people will find their next job, their second career, not through an online jobs website, but through their own network. And it's how to harness that, right?
And you know what? When you're networking, it's so important to know what you're going to say. Because if you start networking willy-nilly, people won't really know what you're looking for. So if they say, how can I help you? Make sure that you've got a really strong positioning statement or a pitch to give them so that they know exactly what you're looking for, potentially what industry it is, at what level, and what it is that you can contribute. Because there's nothing worse than when someone asks you and you think, oh, well, I don't really know, I'm happy to do anything. That's not going to cut it. You really have to say, these are where my skills are. I'd really love some advice and guidance from you as to where you think I might be able to fit. And also, could you refer me to someone else within this industry where I can gain more information? Because every time you have a networking meeting, I would say make sure you know what you want to get out of it, and it will be a referral that will get you closer to that ideal role.
There you go. Now, there's just some more tips from JaneJacksonCoach.com. Of course, that's Jane Jackson's website, about the power of coaching. Coaching will help you get through all the tough stuff. Number one, it'll help you identify what you really want. Number two, it helps build your self-confidence. Number three, creates a great resume, cover letters and LinkedIn profiles that get noticed and are meaningful. Number four, it polishes your professional image. Number five, leveraging all the most effective job search strategies because it focuses the mind, people. Coaching focuses the mind. I don't mean life coaching from a 23-year-old. Showcasing your relevant skills during the interview and negotiating and onboarding into your new role. A lot of coaching has to come down to empowerment and feeling confident when you both apply for the job that you really want, go for the job interview, and that first day. Jane Jackson, Coach, thank you for joining us tonight on Talking Lifestyle Second Career. One of the really big things, David, that we don't talk about so much on Second Career, but we need to talk about more, is the important role that mentoring plays in the career development, professional development of workers.
That's right. You get to a certain age, and it's nice to pass down to the younger generation what you've learned.
It is, and it's also a really great opportunity to, we don't know everything. We don't know always where we're going to, and especially when it comes to a transitioning economy and also a transitioning workforce. We talk often about the role of automation in Australia at the moment. Robots are taking our jobs.
It's on the rise.
It is on the rise, and we're joined by career management coach Jane Jackson. Jane, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
Now, you're a bit of a guru, we know this, and let's just talk firstly about why mentoring and coaching is so important, and also what is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
Well, actually, Matthew and David, there's a difference between mentoring, coaching, consulting and counseling when it comes to careers. So you've got to understand the difference. But mentoring is one way, honestly, to fast-track your career. It's fantastic. Coaching is a great way for you to understand what you need to do to empower yourself to be successful in your career.
So what are some of the tips that you would offer our listeners in terms of, let's talk about the transitioning economy and workers maybe moving from one industry to another. What are your tips and advice when it comes to mentoring, finding the right mentor to help you do that?
Okay, well, getting a mentor, someone who can actually help you to fast-track your career is great, because a mentor will be a guide to you. So if you're thinking about transitioning into a new industry, for whatever reason, it could be maybe you've gone through a redundancy, or maybe the industry that you're in is shrinking. I mean, it could be mining or manufacturing, which is now quite challenging for people to find a new role. And you're thinking, I don't know which other industry I can go into or what my transferable skills are. It would be good to have a look at the industry that you want to target, and then find someone who's a leader in that area, someone who might be maybe 1 or 2 levels above you, who've been there and done that, so that you can ask them, exactly what are the skills, aptitudes, education, certifications, qualifications that are required to be a success, and they can impart their knowledge and wisdom, because they've been there before, to you, so that you can make a decision.
So the secret is really go to the top.
Well,
seek out the top, the best.
Yeah. Well, basically, a mentor is an expert who's got broad, lengthy business experience, and sometimes that's evidenced by a bit of grey hair, perhaps.
Yes.
Yes. I colour my hair often, Jane.
Well, sometimes the grey hair isn't evident, but we know it's like a Yoda, someone who would be a Yoda to you.
Now, hang on, before we go on, I've got to tell a quick funny story.
Okay.
My father, Mitty, he always used to, we have white grey hair going on in our family past the age of 40, right? Now, my dad used to pull out the bottle of Grecian 2000. You could buy it in the supermarket for less than $2.99. Now, he used to, try and blacken his hair. He even used to have a toothbrush to blacken the moustache, David.
Oh, my goodness. No.
Now, unfortunately, he passed away, a little while ago. But when he did, all of a sudden, his hair was a rusty orange colour. So a lesson to our listeners, be proud of your grey hair.
Yeah.
So Jane, I mean, you're on LinkedIn quite a bit. I mean, LinkedIn is this massive, great, big social networking, professional networking site. Maybe the people that we want to seek out, we don't necessarily have in our universe right now, but we can connect with them in that way, right?
You can, but you've got to really plan the way you're going to connect with them.
Yeah.
Because I have to say that with LinkedIn, because it's really there are over 400 million people on LinkedIn now, and every 2 seconds there's another person, sometimes 2 people, signing up, and so it's growing and growing. And so if you're on LinkedIn, it's a great way to expand your connections, but please connect with people who there's a reason to connect with them. Don't just willy-nilly, press that plus button, connect with no personal note. So first of all, I'd use LinkedIn for research. So have a look at different companies within the industries that you want to target. And then depending on which area you're in, maybe it's operations or procurement or finance or whatever it might be, look for the leaders in those areas, in those particular companies. And if you've got enough connections and real connections, you'll be able to see a little number next to their name. And it will either be 1, 2, or 3. And that will show you how you are connected to that person. There'll be a direct connection once removed, or it could be twice removed, which makes it a little bit harder. But if there's someone that you know who met an individual, approach them and ask them to facilitate an introduction. Let them know why you want to connect with them, first of all, because there's got to be a reason. No one wants to connect to people they don't know.
Well, this is true. And of course, David, we've had LinkedIn on the show before. Yeah. And there's also a challenge of who's actually for real on LinkedIn. I mean, the number of fake profile and fake connection requests I get is enormous. Now, Jane, you've got a program called Get Your Dream Job with My 7 Steps Online Careers program. Where can our listeners find out more about getting in touch with you?
Okay. Well, if they go to janejacksoncoach.com, you'll find out all of my different services. But if you also go to janejacksoncoach.com/7 steps, that's where my online program is. But before we move on with that, can I just tell you a really funny story?
Oh, go for it. We like funny stories.
I received this invitation on LinkedIn from Vin Diesel.
Oh, yes.
And so,
yes.
so I got so excited. I thought, oh, my goodness, I am so well known now that even Vin Diesel has heard of me. Anyway, I went to have a look, and Vin Diesel only had 50 connections, and he went to some obscure university that I've never even heard of. There was nothing about Hollywood in his profile at all. And that's a sure way to realize that, this is not a real profile. And of course, being Vin Diesel, it was easy to tell that sometimes you have a really good picture, a good headline, and then great experience. But a way to tell the profile that isn't real is to have a look and see if there's consistency with the education and also the experience.
Well, I've got to say, Jane, I get confused with George Clooney all the time. I hear listeners at home laughing their heads off, which is why we've got Faces for Radio, David.
That's right.
Hey, Jane Jackson, guru, coach, mentoring expert extraordinaire, thank you very much for joining us tonight on Talking Lifestyle Second Career.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. You can get a free audiobook download and free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/Jane Jackson Careers. There are over 180,000 book titles to choose, so give it a go and get your free audiobook today from audibletrial.com/Jane Jackson Careers.
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.